But I got to the end of my undergrad education and I thought I just really don't want to go to medical school. So I went and I graduated a bit early and I worked at a pharmaceutical company for a little bit as a researcher. It was great. It amuses me now that just about every single thing I did for that company, a robot does now. So I was the robot
Wow.
back then. And then I applied to graduate school and did really well, got into all the graduate programs I applied to, which watching kids apply to college now, I still feel really proud that I was successful at that. But then I went to Princeton to do my PhD. I was in the molecular biology department, so I'm a molecular biologist. And at the time, it was really a fun time. It was an exciting time because systems biology was just getting started. So this idea of being able to analyze really, really, really large biological data sets using computation, that was just really taking off in a big way. And so I invented a technology as part of my PhD and generated all this data, and then had this sudden moment of horrified realization that I didn't know what to do with any of it, which is just learning and growing up. So I had to learn to program. So I learned to program pretty late in the day, which is why I'm kind of a lousy programmer. So thank you, ChatGPT, for helping with that. And so I finished my PhD. I became a professor at the American University in Cairo. So I lived in Egypt for 2 years. That was before the revolution. Did you not know that?
I did not know that.
Surprise! I lived in Egypt from 2007 to 2009. Amazing experience. That was, like I said, just before the revolution there. And then I moved back to the United States just as the global economy was collapsing in 2008, 2009. And so I had thought that I was going to continue with my academic career, but with the economy blasted, there were no jobs. So I ended up starting to work freelance as a science communicator. I did that for about 6 months and then complained to my husband one night that I was doing all the work but kicking half the money back to this other company. And he said, "Why don't you start your own business?" And I said, "That's ridiculous. I'm a scientist. I don't know anything about starting a business." But I live in Silicon Valley. So 12 hours later, I had a business. And I spent about 14 years building that business to help scientists from undergrads all the way up to senior faculty members learn how to communicate their science either to other scientists or to the general public. So grant proposals, papers, textbooks, websites. I wrote poetry for people. I did all kinds of stuff.
Poetry?
Poetry. It was pretty cool. I was pleased with that job. That was a good one.
Wait, was that based off of data, based off of a study, or is it just?
No, it was actually an in memoriam. So somebody was writing a piece to memorialize a colleague who had recently died, who was also a scientist. And to honor that person, they wanted to come up with some verse to do that. And so I helped write the poetry for that, which was really fun and not something people think about when they think about science. But remember, scientists are people, and we love each other, and we want to remember each other. And there are lots of ways that we do that, including poetry, which I think is wonderful.